Sit down, right there, don't go nowhere, little baby gon' shake that, 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 shit, yeah, I like that, right now, right here, sit down, right there, don't go. Welcome back, we back with another reaction video. Today we are reacting to a stay awake crime and psychology video. Diabolical wife pretends she didn't kill her husband. Oh God, another one. Let's get right into it.
In the afternoon hours of July 21st, 2018, a man named James Blackledge was riding his motorcycle along Island Forks Road in the serene neighborhood of Lake Wylie, South Carolina. Suddenly, he was startled by a woman running from her house, frantically calling for help. Alarmed by her distress, he immediately dialed 911.
Public Safety Communications, this is Amber.
Yes, ma'am. I'm down at Lake Wylie, 4506 Island Forks Road. I was just riding by, and a woman came running out and said her husband fell down the steps, and she thinks he's dead. So we need an ambulance. I think he might be gone.
Okay, but I do have everyone coming lights and sirens. I know you don't want to bother her. Has he been sick recently?
He said he had vertigo. About how long? About how long?
Only a few minutes, yes, sir. They've been en route since you gave me the address.
While James reported the situation, Lana raced to the doorstep of another house, desperately seeking more help. Her neighbor, a man named Terry, answered the door. He then accompanied her back to the scene. Within minutes, emergency responders arrived at 4506.
You know what's weird to me? And again, I'm sorry about the early pausing, y'all, but why would you not call the ambulance yourself? Why would you go out and get witnesses to see that, to show that you're frantic, right? You're putting on a show, right? Like you're staging this to make it seem like you didn't do it to your husband. I don't want to come in biased just because of a video title, but nigga, why not?
Island Forks Road. Once they arrived, they met the frantic woman at the door, still begging for help. They promptly assured her that everything will be okay, and then asked her name. She told them her name was Lana Clayton. Upon entering the house, paramedics were met with a chilling sight. By the front door, at the bottom of a staircase, Lana's 64-year-old husband, Steve Clayton, was lying on the floor unresponsive. After providing immediate first aid and CPR, they realized that they were too late, and Steve had already passed away. Lana told first responders that she suspected that Steve had suffered from a heart attack. Apparently, she had last seen her husband lying in the bedroom at around 11 a.m. But after working in the yard for 2 hours, she walked into the house and discovered Steve collapsed at the bottom of the stairs. She also mentioned that Steve had been experiencing vertigo and dizziness for about 3 days, and she wondered if this could be the reason for his sudden collapse. By 1:30 p.m., just 2.5 hours after she saw him content in his bed, Steve was pronounced dead. Soon after, the coroner performed a thorough inspection of Steve's lifeless body, and while doing so, Lana's neighbor Terry spoke to an officer outside, reiterating Lana's story. He seemed slightly suspicious of the situation, so he also urged them to make sure her statements added up.
Just kind of having guilt trips about not checking on him. Just take a look to see if you see any signs of him falling or anything.
Hey, Terry, a real one. Yeah, you're not going, nigga. We not going, bruh.
The deputies then looked over the rest of the house, searching for any clues that could shed light on the situation. They first went upstairs and checked Steve's bedroom, which appeared to be fairly clean, but did align with Lana's story that he was sleeping up there. The comforter was missing from the bed, but that's because Lana grabbed it to put over Steve. They then continued their search through the main hallway and dining room. Still, nothing stood out as unusual, and officers were inclined to believe that this was just an unfortunate accident.
You can't blame yourself for any of this. Oh, no, not at all.
Uncertainty about Steve's cause of death was in the air. However, Lana's account, coupled with the initial examination of the scene, painted a convincing picture of an accident or a death from natural causes. Steve was found lying face down at the bottom of the staircase, with his head near the base of the stairs and his feet pointing towards the front door. This positioning suggested a possible fall down the stairs. But Steve's body had no visible external injuries that aligned with this theory. He had no abrasions, bruises, or indication of blunt force trauma. There was...
What? Yeah, I'm gonna say he fell down the stairs. You wanna try to at least catch yourself, one. If you can't catch yourself, nigga, you gonna have blunt force trauma, because how else would you have passed away? You fell down the steps, gang. You're gonna be tumbling.
Was, however, a noticeable purplish discoloration on his chest extending from the nipple line to the top of his head. The coroner noted that typically this discoloration indicated a heart attack. As the investigators continued to speak with Lana, one of Steve's nephews, Nick French, arrived at the scene. Nick, who also happened to be a police officer in a nearby town, had rushed over to offer comfort and support to Lana. However, after briefly speaking with her, he noticed something suspicious. Despite being a nurse, Lana made no mention of attempting to revive Steve, something she was fully trained to do. Adding to the mystery, Steve's phone was missing, and Lana claimed to know nothing about its whereabouts. As Nick searched for the missing phone, he ventured into the bedroom where Steve had been bedridden for the past 3 days. What he found was startling. There was a large puddle of urine soaked through Steve's bed, suggesting that his health was so poor that he was unable to make it to the bathroom. Lana did say that Steve was bedridden for 3 days due to his dizziness and vertigo, but she didn't say that he was incapacitated or suffering from any urinary problems. Also, when investigators asked if she had prearranged funeral plans for Steve, she initially stated that she hadn't made any. However, when examiners offered to keep Steve's body at a holding facility, she quickly changed her mind and requested that his body be transferred to a nearby funeral home. Lana then claimed that Steve had previously expressed his wish to not have an autopsy performed and instead wanted a quick cremation. She even voiced her opinion as to why he might have wanted this, alleging that Steve struggled with drug abuse. Nick, more concerned than ever, now started to believe that a thorough investigation was necessary, so he urged Lana to allow the coroner to take Steve's body for further testing. Of course, Lana declined Nick's request. She then changed the subject, asking if somebody can pray over Steve.
Is it allowable to have somebody pray over? Oh, yes, ma'am. So if there's someone you want to call.
At this point, Nick wasn't the only officer becoming weary of Lana. Aside from her strange behavior, there was also some physical evidence that was contradicting her story. When observing the stairs, they found it odd that the carpet runner had not slipped at all. And on the drywall next to the stairs, there was no indentations or handprints. Steve's body also showed no signs of blunt force trauma or internal bleeding. To summarize, there was zero physical evidence to corroborate a fall.
And you know what I just thought of? She's a nurse, right? So wouldn't it be so easy to get him taken off the map, out of the game, deceased? Wouldn't it be so easy just to give him some pills to make his heart croak? It's looking like you did it.
The problem was that there was also no evidence pointing to foul play. As a result, Steve's body became a crucial piece of the puzzle, and his remains were transferred to the medical examiner's holding facility. This turned out to be a good decision, because the very next day, Steve's side of the family contacted the coroner and requested a full autopsy and toxicology report. Lana was against this request, but she was eventually overruled and further testing was arranged. In the meantime, Lana was left to be with her loved ones. Over the next week, Lana's behavior became even more erratic. She made pending arrangements for Steve's cremation without notifying his side of the family. She sold parts of Steve's expensive art collection and even burned several important documents. Among those documents was a will that his nephew Chris Foggin was assigned the executor of. When Chris asked Lana to provide him with the will, she unexpectedly claimed that Steve didn't have one. Lana's refusal to cooperate with Steve's family while allowing her own family to help with Steve's estate set off many red flags for the investigators. Not only that, but Lana's claim of Steve's drug addiction only made things worse. His side of the family had no knowledge of such an issue, and while Steve occasionally used recreational drugs, it was nowhere near the level that Lana described. It was now becoming clearer with every move that she made that Lana was trying to hide something. In 2010, 56-year-old Steve and 44-year-old Lana connected online. Over the next 3 years, the couple built a life together before getting married in 2013. In 2015, Steve and Lana moved from Florida to their newly built house right on the water in South Carolina. All signs pointed to a happy and loving relationship between the two. Steve was even captured fondly dancing with Lana during their July 4th party hosted at their Lake Wiley residence.
I mean, she was looking over there at another nigga. I don't want to be a petty guy. Not to be the petty guy, but you just see her looking over there. I don't care what Steve's talking about. It's hoes here. Like, bro.
just 2 weeks before his death. On the surface, the relationship between the two appeared very normal, but as investigators dug deeper, they learned that things weren't exactly as they seemed. Apparently, in 2016, Lana shot Steve in the head with a crossbow while he slept, claiming it was an accident. Fortunately, his injury wasn't fatal, and he recovered in a few weeks. This incident was reported to the sheriff's office.
So now I got questions about crossbows. What are their purpose? I mean, there's no way you got shot in the head and survived that. Thank God you survived that, but what the... Huh? Also, Steve, when a red flag, man, she's trying to cook you. Help! Help! Help!
But no charges were ever filed. Also, Steve's nephew Chris told officers that during the months before his uncle's death, Steve was contemplating divorcing Lana. With this new evidence on the table, investigators became confident that Steve's death was not an accident. And with that, Lana became the #1 suspect. It had been about a month since Steve's death, and the eagerly awaited autopsy report was finally released. The autopsy revealed several health-related issues, including an enlarged heart and gallbladder disease. His lungs were also reported to be very congested. Additionally, the report revealed consistencies with a fall injury, including a small abrasion on Steve's left forearm, a bruise on his left shin, and another one on the side of his head. These results suggested that Steve very well could have died from natural causes or a fall. However, the toxicology report unveiled a startling new discovery. The report detected high levels of tetrahydrozoline in Steve's blood, a chemical most commonly found in over-the-counter eye drops. His post-mortem blood contained approximately 30 times the dose used for therapeutic purposes. Tetrahydrozoline can be extremely toxic if ingested, and its presence in Steve's system suggested that there may have been foul play involved in his passing. Investigators were determined to uncover how such an unusually high dosage of this chemical had ended up in Steve's system. So they honed in on their #1 suspect, who also happened to be the last person to see Steve alive. On August 29, 2018, Lana agreed to meet with officers at the coroner's office. When she arrived, she was escorted to an interview room. What she didn't know was that FBI detectives were listening to the conversation from another room. She was first informed that an autopsy had just been performed on her husband, setting the stage for an uncomfortable conversation.
So first things, like I said, the pathologist had some questions. So can you go over his medical history?
Lana explained that Steve had a near-fatal scuba diving accident several years prior, which left him with ongoing bowel sickness.
How long have you been dealing with
his best life.
Years.
Respect.
But he gets so busy and he gets nothing for himself. He gets projectile bomb.
Her account of Steve's symptoms, including dizziness and balance issues, also aligned with the side effects of tetrahydrozoline. Despite this, Lana continued to insist that Steve had suffered a heart attack. However, when confronted with the toxicology report, her response suggested that she might know more about how the drug got into his system.
Let's go over the toxicology. There's a drug called tetrahydrozoline. That is his poison.
His tetrahydrozoline level is very, very high. Which is very concerning.
Lana claimed that Steve developed a strange habit of adding eye drops to his coffee.
Somebody
What?
one time told him, who buys anybody else will go to the bathroom and he put like 2 drops in his coffee. And
Doesn't coffee already make you go to the bathroom? Yes. Let's keep capping. I mean, that nigga had money, but if he needed a diuretic, could have smoked some tobacco.
then like
Chew some tobacco.
how long had he been doing that for? A year or so.
They were taken aback by Lana's response. Given her background as a nurse, she should have been well aware of the side effects of tetrahydrozoline. They also found it hard to believe that both Lana and Steve would allow him to intentionally ingest something so harmful. After the coroners presented Lana with the toxicology report and questioned her about Steve's medical history, the interview took a more intense turn. The detectives who had been listening in from the other room decided to delve deeper into Lana's statements and actions during her husband's final moments.
Right now, the death is suspicious in nature. With suspicious deaths, we get involved in serious functions to figure out whether it's accidental or anything along those lines. Well, listen, if you're not in any kind of trouble, you are weakness in this case for us, but part of our protocol, we have to read our right here.
I love how Toby lying.
Right to make
Bro,
sound.
After reading her rights,
generational.
Lana provided details that the investigators hadn't heard before. Apparently, Steve had been struggling with mood disorders, which frequently made him angry and abusive.
He has a mood disorder.
Here
I
we
was not
go.
on eggshells. I didn't know what I was going to come home to, or if he's angry, he would, he can be really nasty,
Okay. What is that?
Just really verbally abusive, calling him names, stupid, bitch.
So it's pretty safe to say that he's pretty abusive.
She got some tough ass Alex.
I feel I'm painting a bad picture of him. He wasn't, a monster.
This new story completely changed the narrative in her favor, which raised suspicions about her intentions. Detectives, now more skeptical, decided to question Lana about how exactly she found his body.
How are his arms positioned?
Okay. Almost like he was trying to push it up to get the moving.
How did you try to move?
Just grabbed it and tried to roll him. So I turned him on the side.
So you were able to put him on the side?
Yeah, like,
Do you remember which side?
I thought 12 found a
right
face
side,
down.
facing the door.
So his right side was facing the door?
Yeah.
So he was on his side.
On his side.
His whole
but
body
he had
was on his side?
He had his arm kind of tucked underneath him.
I thought you said that he was in a position where he was,
Like this.
looked like he was pushing himself up. How did his arm move over there? Sure.
I don't know. I feel like I'm confusing you.
And that's fine. That's what we want you
Dirty
to
as hell.
do.
I wouldn't get down on that.
Yeah,
The
that's what.
door was right here. And the stairs were like right here. And when I came in, it was kind of.
So it's kind of like
Buddy about to take a picture of that.
Lana's demonstration was inconsistent with the physical evidence. Steve was found face down when the paramedics arrived, contradicting her account. The coroner's findings indicated that performing CPR would have required moving him into a different position. Given
Right.
Steve's size, 6'3" and 300 pounds, it seemed highly unlikely that
Damn, Steve, you was a linebacker or some D lineman gang? Goddamn.
Lana, given her own size, could have flipped him over and performed CPR effectively. Furthermore, Lana did not actually call 911. Instead, it was James, the biker that she ran to on the road. With holes in her story like a slice of Swiss cheese, detectives decided that now was the time to bring up the Visine.
Did you make this coffee for him?
No, he made his coffee. Everybody keeps asking me,
I thought he was begging for
about
3 days
the
though.
coffee, and I know they're wanting to know about the Visine.
Did he have any?
He always had the Visine.
Did he have any that day?
This one, I don't know.
You're in the nursing.
All questioning was put on hold.
Never
However,
interrogation.
Lana was soon informed that a search warrant had been obtained for her house and cell phone. They then requested that she hand it over. After complying with this request, the detectives began a thorough examination of her phone records. They also drove her home and executed the search warrant on her property. When detectives discovered a crossbow on the property, they connected it to the crossbow incident they had learned about after speaking with Steve's family.
I mean,
They
well,
questioned
duh.
Lana about its presence, prompting her to disclose more details about their relationship and past incidents.
He was always so in control.
Mm-hmm.
He controlled everybody
Right.
and manipulated. Everybody thought he was a wonderful, sweet guy, but he had such moods. He would go from depressed, angry, and then he would take narcotics to change his mood. And he knew I was going to leave him.
Right. I understand. No, I can't ask you any.
That's weird. Because his nephew said that he was going to leave you.
more questions just due to the fact that you had invoked your right. But if you talk to me, you still had that option to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Feeling the pressure of the investigation and the mounting evidence, Lana revealed these details to the detectives, hoping to provide more context to the situation.
I did not give him marijuana or Valium, Benadryl, any of those things. He took those, but I did
Valium?
put Visine in his water.
Lana had just admitted to administering Visine to Steve. This shocking revelation prompted detectives to continue their questioning of Lana.
You're not going to jail tonight. However, I do want to find out what has happened, what occurred, what led up to this. If you're willing to talk to me.
I don't have any problem.
Okay. Do you want to go inside and sit down? So that way you'll be a little bit more comfortable.
After Lana and the detectives entered the house, they listened as she continued to reveal the disturbing details of Steve's abusive nature.
I told you a little bit about Stephen, but it was worse than what I told you. He was verbally and physically abusive. He had hit me several times.
When did this start?
Probably right after we had moved in together. He did hit me in the face twice.
Closed fist, open hand, or?
Closed fist.
Lana explained the earlier incident where she accidentally shot Steve in the head, claiming she had done so out of self-defense.
I told him I wanted a divorce.
And all this occurred?
That was when I went to the police.
In 2016 with the crossbow incident?
Yeah, with the crossbow. I was trying to protect myself.
Now that Lana was opening up, the detective redirected the conversation to the evening before Steve's death.
And I know that you're just dumping it all out. Kind of tell me about what transpired on that evening.
He said it was vertigo, and I don't know if it was drugs or if he did have vertigo or.
And we're talking about Thursday prior to his death.
Right, and all that was the same. I was taking care of him and everything, but I was still so angry with him. And my girlfriend at work told me, you want to get even with somebody, put Visine in a drink, it'll cause diarrhea. When I saw that Visine on the table at his bedside, I just took and squirted it.
And what did you squirt it into?
His water.
Into his
Can we get the girlfriend too, nigga? You suggested some crazy Yeah, if that's true though. I can't believe none of the words coming out of her mouth.
Water.
I think I put the whole thing in.
See, the whole bottle?
The whole bottle was crazy.
Okay.
I squeezed it hard. I was just angry.
You probably don't know what Visine tastes
No, I
like,
just
what the
wanted
hell?
him to have diarrhea. I wanted him to just be miserable.
She adamantly stated that Steve's abuse caused her to act impulsively, but insisted that she never meant to kill him.
What if I did kill him? What if I caused his death with the Visine?
Ain't no way.
What's done is done. Okay? We need to worry about healing now.
Following this interview, detectives discovered several empty bottles of Visine around the house, which corroborated Lana's confession. They also found a pile of burnt belongings in the backyard. However, crucial items like Steve's will and cell phone were missing. After this search was wrapped up, Lana was left at her home for the night while they prepared an arrest warrant. Typically, under these circumstances, a confessed killer would be held at the county jail. But law enforcement believed that this was an isolated incident, and Lana posed no danger to the public. In the meantime, detectives interviewed Steve's side of the family and his former partners about any incidents of abuse. None of them were aware of any abusive behavior or drug addiction. The next day, on August 30th, 2018, the York County Sheriff's Office received another frantic 911 call. It was Lana's neighbor who had just discovered Lana unresponsive in her bed. Apparently, she had taken drastic measures to avoid prosecution. She was quickly taken to the hospital where she eventually regained consciousness and was now under police supervision. Back at the residence, authorities discovered that Lana had recently written a series of letters. In them, she apologized for the pain that she had caused and explained the reasons behind her actions. After thoroughly investigating Lana's claims and gathering enough evidence to support the charges, an arrest warrant was issued. Detectives waited for her to be medically discharged from the hospital before making the arrest. On August 31st, 2018, more than 1 month after Steve's death, 52-year-old Lana Clayton was formally arrested. She was charged with multiple counts, including murder, voluntary manslaughter, and the tampering
Boy, why the hell is Michael Strahan on the screen?
of food or drug in the death of her husband.
Now, with that shocking murder case in South Carolina, a wife arrested, accused of poisoning her husband with over-the-counter eye drops. Now his family is breaking their silence, and Amy is here with more. What a story.
Yeah, this is an incredible story, guys, and there are so many questions about this murder, but the biggest one remains unanswered. Why? Why did Lana Clayton allegedly poison her husband?
It's the common over-the-counter medicine used to relieve red or irritated eyes. But this morning, investigators say they still have no clear motive as to why 52-year-old Lana Clayton allegedly used eye drops to kill her husband of 4 years.
Well, she did admit during interviews with our detectives that she committed the crimes.
Police say they never suspected foul play was involved until toxicology results from his autopsy revealed high levels of tetrahydrozoline, the chemical found in eye drops and nasal sprays, in his bloodstream. If ingested orally, it can cause respiratory failure, seizures, and even comas.
During our search of the home, we found several bottles of the eye drops.
Police say Clayton admitted to poisoning her husband's water with the drops over the course of 3 days before his death. This morning, Clayton remains behind bars without bond, facing murder and unlawful tampering of food charges. Her husband's family speaking out, telling ABC News they are shocked and mortified at the cause of Stephen's death. All of our family and friends knew how much he loved his wife, Lana, and how devoted he was to her.
Such a shocking story. And under South Carolina law, this case qualifies for the death penalty, but prosecutors say it is far too early to decide whether to seek that against Lana Clayton.
On January 17, 2020, nearly a year and a half after Steve Clayton's death, Lana Clayton officially entered a guilty plea to her charges. She faced the possibility of up to 30 years in prison without parole.
How do you plead to voluntary manslaughter? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Respect.
During her sentencing hearing, attorneys argued about the motivating factors behind the crime as a way to evaluate just how long she should spend behind bars. Prosecutors put forth that Lana had lied about the abuse and theorized that she was motivated by financial gain. Steve was a wealthy man with significant assets, and under South Carolina's inheritance law, Lana was set to inherit his estate if he died without a will. They suspected that Lana took advantage of this law and is the main reason she convinced Steve to move to South Carolina back in 2016. To finish him off, she intentionally added the eye drops to Steve's drinks for several days, causing his death.
He lay there helpless Thursday and Friday, waking up periodically from his misery, thirsty, drinking more water.
Her defense responded to these claims by painting Lana as a victim struggling from the lasting effects of PTSD from all of the abuse that she suffered. After all of the evidence was presented to the court, members of Steve's family and friends urged the judge to give Lana the maximum possible sentence.
If Steve loves someone, we love them too. When Steve and Lana married, we welcomed her with open arms. Lana Sue, as Steve lovingly called her, was a VA nurse from Oklahoma. We traveled together on vacations. We visited Steve and Lana in the mountains. We met in the middle to cheer on the Seminoles. We gathered in our hometown any chance we got. In the 4.5 years they were married, I never saw Aunt Lana angry or greedy or unhappy in any way ever, ever. I truly thought that Lana loved Steve and that their marriage was good. And then unexpectedly, Lana called and said that Steve is dead. He'd been sick, she said. Lana told me she'd been outside mowing the lawn, came inside and found him near the bottom of the stairs. We knew that for the last year, Steve had been oddly sick at times and thought perhaps this was the result of Steve not taking better care of himself. We were completely devastated and completely heartbroken. Shortly after, we gathered with friends and family at their home to say goodbye. We heard story after story of how Steve had so positively affected the lives of so many people. Today, myself, my husband George, and our 2 adult children remain completely traumatized, devastated, and heartbroken. We have not only lost our dearest friend, our advisor, our brother, our Steve, we have lost our trust in the world as we thought we knew it. The loss of Steve and our lifetime of friendship is completely immeasurable. Homicide is where one person causes the death of another without legal justification. Lana Sue Clayton methodically planned and murdered an exceptional man, Stephen Clayton. Lana took Steve's life, took his life. Clearly, there was no legal justification, no extenuating circumstances, and no defensible argument regarding the fact that Lana murdered Steve. Clearly, this is a homicide. Under South Carolina homicide law, murder is punishable by a minimum prison term of 30 years, life in prison, or death. While Lana's punishment is not up to me, I do know this. Lana Sue Clayton is an exceptionally diabolical liar, a confessed murderer, and never should be allowed any kind of life in the outside world. I hope that this is the case, Your Honor.
Thankfully, following this heartfelt plea, Lana Clayton was sentenced to 25 years without parole. She was promptly escorted out of the courtroom and taken back to her cell. Lana Clayton is currently serving her sentence at the Leith Correctional Institution in Greenwood County, South Carolina.
Okay. They lifed her. Like, bro, I don't think you was thinking. There's no way you thought that you was getting away with that. Somebody come get this. That case was actually crazy. For some reason, for me, the most surprising part was Michael Strahan was reporting on that shit. Why was Michael Strahan there? I didn't know he was doing that at ABC. Lana, what's wrong with you? Now, if he was abusing you, it might be justifiable to get him up out of there. But to me, there's no evidence pointing to that. Now, his family statements mean little to me because how would they know? They weren't in the house. They're not with you every night. But it just seems really fishy how you try to paint it as, oh, it was an accident, natural causes. And then after the toxicology report came out, mind you, you was trying to make sure that these niggas didn't get to autopsy the body. After that comes out, you say, yeah, he abused me. Crazy word. So not only did you take this man's life, but you try to tarnish his reputation by saying that he did such and such and this and that. Now, if it's true, damn, situation messed up. But if it's false, which I'm assuming it is, because it seems like it is, why? Especially after you already took the guilty plea. Like you said, you was guilty. I'm not about to be in this court telling my lawyers, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. Nigga, what are y'all fighting for? what a lesser sentence? No, nigga. She deserved it. Then she talking about some, yeah, he doesn't have a will. The will you burned? What happened to his phone? Did his phone have evidence of her doing this to him? Like, I'm confused. There's still more questions that needed to be answered, but the biggest question, we got the best answer. Get her out of here. That's the best answer for me. Rest in peace to Steve. Condolences to his family. That's the end of the video. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Share your thoughts on the video in the comment section below. Hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date when I drop videos on this channel. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe, y'all.
Everything I see and I achieve it, bitch, we best. Everything I see and I achieve it, bitch, we best. Everything Everything I'm seeing, I achieved it, bitch, you best believe it. It has been my Nintendo switch it, don't kick it with my kinfolk. Haters just be talking, so I really do not need their info. Yeah, their info. Yeah.